Yo, yo, yo. We're back. Episode 11, Tuesday, May 28th, CC TitleTown. I'm your host, Chris, here with my co-host, Cameron. How you doing, Cam?
I'm good, man. It's been a little while again since we've been on. You know, life has been busy for the both of us. So
I feel like the last few episodes have been like that.
Yeah, a little spaced out, but, you know, we apologize for that. But, hey, life happens. So.
Right, that's okay.
Yeah.
They understand.
Yeah, exactly.
But, yeah, no, since the last time we talked, we kind of were going off of conference semifinals were still going on.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And, obviously, I'm trying to think. How did we end the last one basketball-wise?
We gave some predictions.
We went at it with the Rockets. The Rockets and Warriors were still going on, right?
Yep. Yeah, we were talking about James Harden.
Yeah, it was going into like Game 6, I think.
Yeah, and I was telling you how he's basically a choke artist.
Right.
Which, I mean,
right.
I think I was texting you some other stats that I got from our good buddy Matt Schultes. Shout out to Matt for these stats. You know, I was just giving you those stats. I'm like, dude, this is why he's not elite.
Right.
This is why he's not this. And so we were kind of going back and forth a little bit about that, but yeah, that's basically kind of where we left off.
Right. Kind of fast forward, to now.
Yeah.
The finals matchup is set. We had in the Western Conference Finals, the Warriors sweep the Blazers. And, we were talking about this earlier. Depending on how you look at it, there's not much to talk about that. The conference finals in the Western Conference are, yeah.
I mean, really, it was all right. The story leading into that matchup was what are the Warriors going to do if KD doesn't come back?
Right.
And a lot of people were like, "Oh, the Blazers are for real," which they are for real. I like the Blazers.
I do too.
I like Dame and I like McCollum. I like their supporting cast, but that was the worst possible matchup they could have because it's like, okay, you guys have a good backcourt, the Blazers, but we're talking about possibly the best backcourt of all time.
Right.
In the Warriors.
Right.
And you got to chase them around the court, through screens and things. And, they had just come off that 7-game series against Denver.
They were tired.
Yeah.
They were tired.
You can see.
It. I think, too, what hurt them is Nursif, the center going down early in the playoffs, I believe.
Yeah. I think right before the playoffs
end of the regular
started.
Season. Yeah, that hurt them, too. Probably more than we probably realized, but yeah, they're just. I feel like the Blazers are just that one piece away.
Yeah.
Like they're one piece away because if they could just have another forward in there that, even like a Julius Randle, I could see them being, just having that little extra down there. But yeah, I feel bad for him
because nobody could guard Draymond.
No.
Nobody. I mean, they weren't physical enough with him.
Right.
Nobody was big enough to really.
As good as Draymond was playing, Leonard was eating him up too.
That's true, and Leonard is bigger.
Right. Exactly.
So that's kind of something to think about with that matchup.
I don't see, and we'll get to this later, but I see that as a one-time series for Draymond.
Really? But he's done it kind of, in the past.
Not this season.
Not quite to that. Yeah,
not this season. And it'll depend if Kevin Durant comes back, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Same with DeMarcus Cousins, but yeah. I mean, the Warriors are just more fluent without Kevin Durant.
I would say the ball moves a little bit more without KD.
Yeah.
Because it has to for them to get open shots. KD, when he's got the ball, it's almost like he can get any shot he wants from any part of the floor.
Right.
So when the ball's in his hands, it's like, okay, there's probably an open shot.
Right.
And he's going to take it.
Right.
Most of the time, a lot of times he makes it.
Yeah.
And he's also not afraid to distribute the ball either. So
I feel like Steph has that same attribute to an extent. Not quite like Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
But Clay doesn't have that. Draymond doesn't have that. Steph's more all outside of the arc. Like, he'll dribble around until he gets you off balance, and he'll find his open shot.
Yeah, but there was times in that, if you remember in that Portland series, even going back to the Rocket series where he kind of his shot was off, especially Steph.
Yeah.
Especially in that early in the second half of was it Game 6, I believe, where he dropped 33.
Oh, we're talking about the Rockets.
Yeah,
that was Game 6,
where he dropped 33 in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he started inside, you know, to get a rhythm going. So he will do that.
Right.
You know, he'll get a screen and then, you know, go under and then pull up.
Right.
He's not afraid to do that. People think he's only a 3-point shooter, but he can knock down a mid-range too.
Oh yeah.
So to get him going.
Right.
But yeah, I know what you're saying. Like he's got to he shakes you free up top and he gets his own shot behind the three. He does that often.
Right. Like I said, not quite to the extent like Kevin Durant, where it's, if Kevin has the ball, kind of get out of the way with under 10 seconds in the shot clock, let him do what he needs to do to get the bucket.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so 4-0 sweep. The games were probably not as close as they looked, probably, but
yeah. Well, it was interesting. I want to say Portland had a good lead in 3 of those 4 games.
Yeah. Oh,
a big lead.
Like,
17 points in 2 games.
They're tired.
Yeah, and they just, you know, the Warriors, they're like, okay, we're gonna play defense now.
Right.
Locked them up. You know, the Trailblazers didn't have enough energy in the second half and the fourth quarters of those games
to keep it going.
To essentially put them away, and the Warriors' experience kind of just came through.
Right. And it was almost like each game too. Like it was only a matter of time before it's happened.
Right.
You know. Like there was never a time where anybody really counted them out of the game.
Yeah. No. Exactly.
Because they were the Warriors, and
you know how explosive they are.
Clay can drop 50 in a quarter if he needs to. You know what
right.
I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel bad for the Blazers. Congratulations, to them for making it that far.
Yeah. Yeah, with, undermanned essentially.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens next year.
Lillard was hurt.
Right.
So.
But we'll see. Yeah, I guess more to the more exciting series in the Eastern Conference with Milwaukee and Toronto.
Yeah.
I was shocked, honestly. I mean, as the series progressed and after each game, like, it'd be like the first 2 games, obviously, I was like, okay, Milwaukee's up 2-0. Like, Toronto will get 1, maybe 2, it'll be done. But then, like, after each game, you started to be like, maybe they'll make a run at the series, and then the series is tied. And then they take the lead in game 5, and it's like, what is going on?
Right.
What is happening?
It was almost like, people were waiting for the Bucks to
counteract, like,
are you gonna make adjustments here?
Right.
What's going on? Yeah, and they never did make those adjustments.
Right. Which killed them.
Yeah, it did.
I mean, as good as Milwaukee is, like, they just got outplayed.
They did. And like you, I was also surprised a little bit. Like, why? I'm like, man, how is Toronto doing this?
Right.
They won 4. They won 4 straight
to cap off the series.
Yeah. And Milwaukee had only lost 2 games in a row during the regular season 1 time.
A total of 1 time. Yeah. Yeah, it's still kind of shocking. Like, the more I think about it, I think I've said this on the show before. If I haven't said it on the show, I've said it outside the show. Kawhi is underrated as a basketball player. Like, he gets no love from anybody until now.
Right.
And he is a freaking baller. Like, he shut down Giannis.
Yeah.
And Giannis is a freak.
He's a physical freak. They call him the Greek freak for a reason.
And so it's no easy task, but I mean, think of the days back when he was for San Antonio, and he had to guard LeBron when they played Miami. Like,
he made stuff a lot more difficult.
He guarded LeBron every single game, all game long.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what he did against Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily for Giannis, he was not quite to that stature of where LeBron was in Miami, as far as his full arsenal on offense and everything.
Right.
I think he's only 24 years old.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of time, and we've talked about
he's going to get better.
He has to.
Yeah.
I mean, if he wants to really dominate the NBA like everyone's saying he's going to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he has a lot to work on.
Yeah.
But he has a lot of time to work on it too.
Yeah, and honestly, just talk about Giannis for a second. Like, I think he should win the MVP. I think he's going to win the MVP based on his regular season performance.
Right.
But he's, he kind of showed the weaknesses in his game. Everyone talks about the playoffs. They expose your weaknesses the further you go on.
Right.
When you go up against a guy like Kawhi, the claw.
Right. And
those weaknesses were exposed.
Exactly. And think about it, like, there's a lot that goes into this too, but like the coaching staff, like, you're playing the same team over and over for at a minimum 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
So one team is going to make adjustments.
Right.
So you want to hope that's your team, obviously, but like, it was obviously that the Raptors made those adjustments.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're the Bucks, you want to at
least match.
A Bucks fan, you hope that, okay, maybe my team can counter those adjustments that Toronto made, because obviously they made some.
Right, and they made the right ones, and
they put Kawhi on Giannis more.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
like just glued him to him.
I mean, in that was the third game, I think Kawhi guarded him 41 times on 41 possessions.
Right.
Giannis had like 4 points against him.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, jeez.
Good luck.
Yeah.
And I think another thing is, I think I heard maybe Jalen Rose say this the other day or maybe today, but like, it's tough. Milwaukee was kind of on a roll. They were playing well. And Brogdon, who's been out, is a key part of their team.
Mm-hmm.
But to just throw him right back in the starting lineup in the conference finals, I think in game, like, 3?
Yeah.
3 or 4?
Yeah.
Like, you're up 2-0, like, maybe, like, and I think they just threw him right in the starting lineup. And, like, that can throw off, regardless of how, if he's played in the season, if he's not played in the season, like, that can throw off people's momentum, that can throw off people's rotation, that can throw off a lot of things.
That's a great point.
You know what I mean? That we don't think about. And, like, he's not, Jalen referred to Kevin Durant. Now, when Kevin Durant comes back, he's a player you're not gonna ease him in.
Right.
You're throwing him in the starting lineup because he's Kevin Durant. He's gonna make your team better regardless. Brogdon, no disrespect, is good, and he's gonna get a payday this summer. The Bulls are eyeing him. We'll see what happens. They'll probably fuck that up somehow. But anyway, he's not quite to that. He's not quite to that level where it's like, okay, doesn't matter. We're throwing this guy in. He has to be on the floor. They could have waited another game, see what happens, ease him in, give him 20 minutes a game. You know what I mean? Like, think of the people that were filling those minutes rotation-wise. I mean, Connaughton was playing really well.
Yeah.
Shout out to Notre Dame. But they had guys like that who were just filling those roles and kept it in motion, and they were playing really well.
They had a good rhythm.
Right.
Yeah.
And not saying he did, and that's the main reason, but that can change and take an effect on a team more than we probably think about it too.
Right. That's a great point that you made there. Yeah, he's not Kevin Durant. He's not a guy that makes he makes the team better, but he's got to be within the flow of what's going on, and he wasn't. So. And
you're talking about the conference finals going to the finals.
Right.
It's one thing if, okay, we got 6 regular season games left, let's get him in there.
Right.
And he's here for the whole playoffs. But he's been gone, and, I'm sure that's something that they thought about, but maybe they thought that's what's best, and if he would have just blended in and they would have kept it going,
nobody would have said anything.
Exactly, you wouldn't even notice.
Right.
And that's not the case. So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it still does fall down on Giannis, and it's also not as fair. I mean, to my point, like, nobody's giving Giannis the argument that they're giving Harden and the thrash they're giving Harden.
Harden's a lot older. He's been in the league a lot longer. He's got a lot more experience, and he is a lot more detrimental to his team in the playoffs than Giannis was. And look,
I mean,
Giannis went up against a guy that's just simply better than him.
Right.
Kawhi.
Oh yeah.
You can say that. All right, KD's better than Harden, which he is.
Yeah.
But I just mean I don't really think that they went one-on-one so much.
Right.
Again, they didn't defend each other.
Right.
Man, I was listening to something today on ESPN. They were talking about, when Chris Paul was initiating the offense in that series against the Warriors, James Harden just kind of stand off to the side and like not do anything. Wouldn't move without the ball.
Right.
Wouldn't set screens. Dude, he is so one-dimensional as a player. Like, the only reason that he has the numbers that he has is because Mike D'Antoni's his coach. Mike D'Antoni basically doesn't really coach him, doesn't tell him, hey, this is the plays we're going to run. He just says, hey, James, I'm going to give you the ball and go play hero ball and take it home for us. That doesn't work in the playoffs.
Right. Well, we've seen that before. Maybe not to quite that extent.
No, we've never seen it to that extent. And
I mean, look at Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was a big on-ball. Like, if he didn't have the ball, chances are he wasn't doing too much.
Yeah,
in his younger days, he would move without the ball. Him and Shaq. After Shaq was gone, Kobe's running the show.
He's still got 2 championships.
Right. And who says Harden won't get one?
He's not getting one.
Not with the Warriors, but let's not act like we've never seen this before.
No, we haven't seen it to this extent. We have not.
Well, because Harden's a better ISO player than Kobe Bryant is.
I mean, maybe in today's NBA, but I'm not even gonna step into that one.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we can't act like we've never seen this before.
No, That's
like saying Kobe gives the ball to Shaq in the paint, and Kobe's not moving without the ball. Shaq's got the ball in the paint. He's gonna make something happen. He's gonna put up a bucket.
No, that's not the same thing. When you give the ball to another guard, like you got to move. You got to move without the ball. You got to set screens. Yeah.
Right.
He didn't, and Harden does not do that. Basically, what he does, he sits behind Chris Paul essentially, so that allows his defender to sag off on Chris Paul and help. That ruins the entire offense. Harden, move, set a screen for somebody.
Right.
Let somebody get open.
Well, that's on the coach too. Like.
Okay, yeah, but at the same time,
like you said, Mike didn't. There's no accountability to James Harden.
Right, but it's like James Harden has that kind of personality. I believe, and they also said, I think this may have been on Jalen and Jacoby, actually.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, they're like, James, D'Antoni was in a press conference earlier this year or whatever, talking about their offense. He's like, yeah, Harden, James could average 15 assists a game. And then someone asked James Harden about that. He's like, man, coach be tripping.
Right.
Like, James Harden does not want to do that. He wants to score the ball.
But he was on a streak of triple doubles, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He's shown that he can do that. But you're right, he doesn't want to, because you know why? He feels like we have a better chance as a team to win if I have the ball.
He ain't winning championships that way.
No, it's just like Russell. I mean, he's a freaking stat freak.
He ain't winning championships that way.
No, but they're not winning without him having. It's like their record when he gets a triple double is like 75%. Than when he doesn't get a triple double.
Okay.
But like, what is he supposed to do?
Look,
you know what I'm saying though.
I understand what you're saying. The sample size is probably a lot smaller when, not necessarily for Russell, but for Harden when he gets a triple double and when he doesn't.
Right.
So you got to think about that. You got to think about sample size.
Right.
Like, okay, fewer games with a triple double. Okay, of course he had a great game. They're probably going to win that game.
Right.
He can't do that all the time though.
It's kind of like that run that Harden went on when he was like on a streak of 30 points a game.
Yeah.
Like, chances are when Harden scores 30, they're gonna win.
I understand that.
So it's like, but don't you think that's what's going through his head is like, look, chances are if I have the ball, we're gonna score this percent of the time.
This is the regular season. You gotta be able, and you gotta be able to move the ball in the playoffs. If the ball sticks, like you said,
yeah,
this is a minimum of 4-game series. Teams are gonna figure you out. And the Warriors just went 7 with them the year before. They play them 4 times throughout the regular season.
Right.
You don't think they don't know what James Harden's going to do?
Right. And that was without Chris Paul last year.
Right. And
so, I mean,
the last 2 games.
Right.
So, but they've seen him.
Right.
They've got all the film they need on James Harden.
Yeah, you only need
the Rockets.
1 year worth.
I feel like we've kind of gone off on a tangent here talking about James Harden, but like, look, man, like, you're not going to win a championship that way. Have the Warriors played that way?
No,
never.
Right.
And they're a dynasty.
You could say the same thing about LeBron too. Like,
not really. Because he at least moves without the ball. He goes and rebounds.
Not all the time.
Not all the time. I'm talking about older or younger LeBron.
Right.
You know, not this year. He didn't do any of that.
No, not this year for sure. But, like, I mean.
And he can pass the ball. He's a facilitator.
Like we've already said, we've seen Harden. He can pass the ball if he wanted to.
If he wanted to, but he doesn't want to. And he doesn't do anything else within the offense.
It's just like LeBron. Like, LeBron, we know LeBron could go to get a triple-double every game, but he doesn't want to.
I'm not even we're not talking about LeBron here.
It's all mindset for players.
Right. Okay, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But I'm saying James Harden is such a cancer to a team.
Oh my God! You know who you sound like? You sound like Colin Cowherd about Russell Westbrook.
No,
Colin Russell Westbrook a cancer to that team. That's what you just sound like.
Look, man, he is.
So you're saying the Rockets would be better without James Harden?
I'm not saying they'd be better.
No,
I'm saying they need to balance the offense more.
They have supposedly the third best point guard in freaking the whole world. He'll go as a Hall of Famer, and you're going to tell me it's James Harden's fault that the offense isn't being facilitated?
He's not willing to do it. He's not.
I sent you that article. There's a reason that Chris Paul and him were bickering about it because Chris Paul was like, I need the ball more. So he gave him the ball. And what did he do? Nothing.
And you know why? Because it was basically they were basically playing 4-on-5 because Harden's sitting off in the back, not doing anything, not setting screens for somebody, not moving, cutting without the ball, nothing. He doesn't do it.
At least he can drive and kick.
Oh, anybody can do that.
Chris Paul can't. Chris Paul can't even finish a jump shot.
He had his best game in that Game 6. Did he not?
And they still lost.
Wonder why. The ball sticks.
Me too.
The ball sticks.
I think Harden had like 35 that game.
He didn't do much.
Chris Paul's best game was like 22 and like 12.
It's pretty dang good if you're the second option.
Yeah, but he's getting paid like a first option.
Okay. Anyway, I don't know why we're talking about the Rockets. They're no longer in the playoffs. I want to get back to talking about the Raptors and why, we both said that we were a little bit surprised as to how they beat the Bucks.
Looking back at it, like I said, Kawhi's just underrated. He is a superstar.
Yeah.
On both ends of the floor, easily the best two-way player in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely underrated. And we mentioned this last show. He is a way better player than DeMar DeRozan. But his supporting cast, too, stepped up big time in that 4-game stretch.
They did.
Kyle Lowry, huge.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think... Oh, no, that was Brook Lopez. Never mind. But anyway...
But think about why, though. Think about why Fred Van Vliet.
Yeah.
Think about why they stepped up. It's like, all the attention is focused on Kawhi.
Right.
Stopping Kawhi. All he does, he became a facilitator in that Game 6.
Right.
I believe it was. Is that when he had the 35 and 9
yeah, I think
assists?
So.
Look, we should... Looking back at it now, I had time to think about it after the series was over. I'm like, man, we really shouldn't be surprised about the Raptors because they only finished 2 games back behind the Bucks for the second best record in the whole league, better than the Warriors.
Exactly.
Kawhi sat out 22 games. Now, granted, they were 17-5 in those games, but
it's still pretty good.
Really good record without Kawhi. But they're playing teams like Chicago, the Knicks, LA. They were playing, scrub teams.
Right.
So they were pretty strategic in when Kawhi rested.
Right.
They did beat the Warriors without Kawhi in one game.
You can't base too much off the regular season, but...
Right, but I'm just saying we should not be surprised.
Right.
At all.
Yeah, no. I think you're absolutely
Raptors.
right. I mean, we didn't give them enough credit, but I think it's because... Which we shouldn't have done, but, we're so used to them doing this.
Right.
Getting to the playoffs, being the 1-2 seed, taking it all the way there, and then just getting slammed and kicked out of the playoffs. It happens every year since ever.
Yeah. Well,
you know what I mean?
When you swap I'd say or all-star player, borderline all-star player, DeMar DeRozan with one of the best players in his time right now in Kawhi.
Top 5 player in the NBA.
Easy. I'd put him top 3 right now.
Oh, right now for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
he's in his prime. He's entering his prime.
Oh yeah, and it's crazy. I don't know if that year off really motivated him or he just rested his body for a whole year or what. But he's a beast.
He is, and and he's played through some pain a little
Right.
bit. I saw in one of the games, he went to jump up, and I think he made the shot, but he came down as an and one. Came down, he's kind of, grimacing a little bit, limping a little bit. He was tired.
Oh yeah.
Because they asked him to do so much.
Yeah.
But he stepped up every single time.
Yeah, and it's probably nice to see. For me, it was nice to see Kyle Lowry step up and play better too, because he's always been kind of a flop in the playoffs too. Going back to when it was him and DeMar,
yeah,
he's kind of sucked in the past.
I mean, he's folded in the playoffs, big time.
But he was never his name was never as big as some of the other guys, so he never got as much of the criticism.
Right, right. He's an all-star, but he was never looked at as.
It was always DeMar's team.
Yeah.
Right, and it's Kawhi's now, and I would love to see Kawhi stay there and sign a 3-4 year deal or something.
That would be pretty sweet.
Instead of going to one of the LAs or something like that.
Yeah. If he leaves the East, there's gonna be a lot. And we'll probably get the free agency, when that time comes.
Right.
But man, there's gonna be so many moving pieces. It's gonna be
it's
hard
gonna
to
be
see
crazy.
who's gonna come out of each conference.
And we won't
Kawhi
know.
leaves,
Like it's when those big moves happen like that. Like think about this summer. Like we had half people saying LeBron's going to take them to the championship, and we had half the people saying he's not even going to make the playoffs. And, say what you want about his injury and what would have happened, but like you never know. Like we won't know until almost All-Star break on those new players with their new teams on how they're going to do, and so anything could really happen. But this summer will be pretty insane.
For the record. No pun intended. I believe the Lakers were only one game above 500 in games that LeBron played, 28 and 27 or something like that. So it's not getting you into the final or into the playoffs in the West.
No.
So just throwing that out there, guys. I think with the Lakers, just real quick, their biggest issue they had was when Lonzo Ball got hurt.
Yeah.
He was the facilitator of that offense. He started the defense.
Exactly.
He was a spearhead of that defense, and once he went down, they kind of just fell apart.
Right.
Obviously, LeBron, they didn't really weather the storm when he left either, but Lonzo being out really hurt them more than people think.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
He's not worth the number 2 pick, but he's still he's a pretty good NBA point guard for that team.
And he's got a lot of growth, too.
Yeah,
I mean, is he even 21?
21, 22, I think. He's young. He's really young.
So, I mean, we'll see what happens with him. And real quick, before we get to the finals matchup, what do you think about Drake on the court, messing with the coach, messing with the players, touching the coach?
Yeah.
Like with everything that we've seen, like fans interacting with players, we've seen the bad part, we've seen the good part.
Right.
What do you think? Like, I mean, the racism that happens.
Being with the Jazz earlier this year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A bunch of things happen, or things are said, and, if a fan were to go up and touch a player, even just, like, give him a hug or something like that, like, totally frowned upon.
Right.
But because it's Drake, big name, goes up, touches the coach, like...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, nothing... Kind of, it is what it is, or
I have no problem with it because Drake is I think he's technically an ambassador for the Raptors. So like he's kind of a part of the organization.
Right.
He gets a lot of the I guess I don't necessarily want to say events like when they're away, but he gets a lot of he's at a lot of the watch parties.
Right.
Hyping the crowd up, maybe doing a little mini concert.
Right.
In Toronto. He's essentially like a Spike Lee and those other guys.
Yeah.
Now I don't think they were ever like that close to the coach all the time. But I have no problem with it just because for one it's Drake, like his name helps.
Right.
His status helps. But he's also an ambassador for the Raptors. So in that respect, I don't think it's too big of an issue. I don't know what your take is on it.
No, I feel the same way. And I just seen other takes on TV and from other, players and coaches, and there's lines that can't be crossed, and I don't think he's came close or crossed those lines and anything like that. Yeah. So I don't think there's any issue with it.
And it hypes the crowd up when it's a home court advantage kind of a thing.
Right. It just adds more fuel to the fire, and some players don't like it and some do, but
as long as the Raptors players and coaches have no problem with it,
exactly,
and the organization doesn't, I think that it's fine.
Right. There shouldn't be any issues with it. Yeah. No, I totally agree. But yeah, I saw. Let me ask this: what do you think the finals is going to turn out to be, series wise?
There's so many variables. I'll give you that prediction after let's kind of give our breakdown of. I think there's some other questions that we should probably get to first before we give our predictions.
Okay. Shoot.
I just want to know. I've asked other people this question. Are the Warriors more difficult to defend without KD?
I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I mean, for some of the reasons we mentioned earlier, and not to the extreme.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Durant does do a lot of one-on-one ball. He moves without the ball. Not saying he doesn't, but he can be a ball-centric player.
Okay.
But I think the reason I think they're harder to defend is because they do move more without the ball. There's more pieces moving, more people moving, more ball moving. And they're, like I said earlier, they're more fluid as an offense.
Mm-hmm.
Steph gets to be more creative, which only makes the defense more on their toes.
Yeah.
It only adds more. I feel like there's more pressure on the defense when Kevin Durant's off the floor.
Really?
Yeah. And, not even taking into account of Boogie Cousins, because I hope he doesn't come back, because I feel like he could really mess up that offense and that team. So
I think they got to pick their spots with him.
Yeah, it's they
match up kind of a thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. It's something about that team, like the core team without Kevin Durant. You can't tell me watching them in that series without Kevin Durant, you were ever nervous. If anything, I was more shocked at how well they were playing.
Yeah.
And more holy shit, I forgot about this team.
Yeah. We did. A lot of people did forget. We did forget.
I mean, all season, I didn't really look at them as. It's been Kevin Durant's team since he came there for me.
Really?
Yes. Kevin Durant's the best player on that team. No doubt about it. And it's just nobody can stop Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
And you forget about what some of these other players can do. I mean, where's this Draymond been all year long? Non-existent.
Okay.
I mean, he's triple-double. Like I said, I don't think he's going to keep it up, especially if Kevin Durant comes back. I don't.
I can see why you would say that, because he hasn't really done it all year.
No, yeah, he hasn't. No, absolutely.
I think Draymond's a lot more focused in this playoff run than he has been in a while.
Yeah.
He
said he needed to be.
Yeah. He said himself he's a 16-game player, not an 82-game player. You know what I mean?
Right.
In reference to the playoffs.
Playoffs, yeah.
So, I mean, I can see those are good points.
I mean, we have proof that they've done it without Kevin Durant.
31-1 without KD when Steph Curry plays.
That's this season, right?
That's no.
That's over the course since he's been there.
Kevin's,
yeah, I guess he didn't miss that many games this season. Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's just it kind of icing on the cake. But the Warriors are so good.
Yeah.
It's hard to. So your question was, are they harder to defend?
Mm-hmm.
I say yes. Are they an overall better team with Kevin Durant on the floor? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
They're loaded at every position.
Right.
Are they harder to guard? I think they're harder to guard without Kevin Durant.
But they're not better.
But yeah, but they're a better overall team with him on the floor, if that makes sense.
Okay. So they're harder.
Because there's too many good players on the floor.
Yeah. That you can't.
You can't match up with all of them.
Yeah.
You cannot.
Can't double anybody.
You can't. You can't. Not one person on that team you can double when he's on the floor.
So, but doesn't that make them more difficult to defend then when KD's on the floor?
Depends how their offense is playing. Like I said, like we've seen where they get stagnant and Kevin Durant handles the ball too much. And just like, for example, like we've seen it with going back to the Rockets, but James Harden, 10 seconds on the shot clock, like all 5 guys are watching James Harden because they know he's going to shoot it. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not all the time with Kevin Durant.
Please don't. Oh, God. Yeah.
What?
Let's not even go there again.
No, but what I'm saying is like I said, your question was, are they harder to defend?
Uh-huh.
Nobody can guard Steph one-on-one off the dribble.
Right.
Nobody.
Creative, man.
Yeah. If you get a switch with anybody, he's going to take advantage of it, and most likely it's going to be a 3 points, not 2.
Yeah. Okay.
You know? I don't know. Just from watching them at the end of that series, they looked unstoppable.
Yeah. Well,
even with Steph having a terrible half and he comes out as 38. Like, so say Kevin Durant's in, he has a bad half, maybe or Kevin Durant picks up a little bit of his slack, but Curry never gets in his groove because Kevin Durant's there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I gotcha.
It might be harder for players to get into those grooves because of Kevin Durant. But that doesn't make them a worse team. Doesn't make them worse.
Right. They're a different team, definitely. I'll say they are a different team. Without KD, I can't really... I don't think that they're more difficult to defend in the playoffs.
Right.
Because here's why. You do need, in crunch time, a player that's, you're tired, maybe the ball's not moving quite as much. You do need a player that can make a tough shot. Shot clock running down. Whether he's got the ball in his hands the whole shot clock or not, you do need a player that can do that.
Right.
Or get to the foul line. Or, whatever. But I think they still are able to move the ball when KD's on the floor. They are.
Yeah, no, they can. Definitely.
And then they have the ability to play for him to, go ISO, last few seconds of the shot clock and hit a big shot. So I think they're a little bit more... I don't want to say versatile, but you know what I mean? They have more, there's more ways that they can score when he's on the floor. Portland, like I said earlier, that was the perfect team for Golden State to play with KD not there.
Right. Because
Portland didn't have the size to match up with Draymond even, and to put bodies on Steph. We've seen Steph when, guys like, obviously there's nobody as big as LeBron that can guard Steph, but when LeBron's guarded Steph in those finals, it's like, man, he kind of shut Steph down.
Right.
Because LeBron's big. Like, he's putting that body on him.
Right.
The Blazers didn't have anybody like that. So I think it's going to be interesting to see, how they do. If KD's not there, what's Kawhi going to do? Is he going to guard Steph?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think with Kawhi, if KD's there, it's going to be more difficult for the Raptors to defend because they got to focus on KD as well. Right. Not just Steph and Clay and Draymond. So that's why I don't think they're necessarily more difficult to defend without KD.
Right.
If that
I get what you're saying.
Makes sense.
And it's hard for me because it's like watching them play without him, right? Like I said, if he comes back, there will definitely be no more of this Draymond that we've seen. He'll go back to being almost non-existent, get his 8 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists a game, unnoticed, coast through, not do too much, try really hard, play good defense. But we won't see any of this point forward that he can run with the 2 splash brothers. You know what I mean? Like, that role will go back to being reversed where he's almost non-existent. Yeah,
there's not enough ball to go around.
Like, there's not.
I guess you could say.
And I guess he'd be the one you'd want to kick out of the rotation.
Right.
But, I don't know. Like I said, watching them play without Kevin Durant was like, holy shit.
Yeah. It was a nice refresher, I'll say.
Right.
It was really fun to watch.
Right.
It was.
Oh, it was. it was totally different than what we've been able to see all season. I feel like.
Mm-hmm. So what? But what if Steph doesn't have those games? What if Clay doesn't have those games? Where they're going off.
Right, and that'll happen.
That's when KD comes in and kind of saves the day.
Right, so. And that's vice versa too.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to see Draymond come in and save the day with.
No.
You know what I mean? That's
good
not
player,
him.
Really good player, but he's in a perfect situation for him.
Right. Exactly. Right.
So I guess this kind of takes us to then our next question. Can the Warriors win without KD? Can they beat the Raptors without KD?
For sure.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. They have had no drop-off without him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see them having a drop-off.
Okay.
I don't see a sweep coming. I could see them losing the series, but I don't. I definitely think they could still win it without him.
Gotcha. So you're more leaning on they can still probably win.
It's still theirs to lose.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's still theirs to lose, which can happen, but I don't see. I still would pick them even if Kevin Durant was officially out for the series.
What about if he's there? How do you feel about the series?
I think it's going to be a close series regardless. I could see it going 6-7 games, whether he comes back game 1, 2, 3.
Mm-hmm.
And like we said earlier with the Milwaukee and Brogdon, like he's a player that when he comes back, you're going to have to put him in the lineup and play him 30 minutes a game regardless. He's Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
So, sure, there might be a small adjustment period. They might take one half or one game to get him back into the swing of things. He hasn't played in a little bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think he's going to come right in and drop 45 points? Probably not. But
right. Yeah.
I mean, sure, it might take him a half of a game or one game to kind of get acclimated and get the players back to, But he's also in the perfect situation where players like Steph, Clay, they know how to take the backseat role to Kevin Durant, and
and they're willing,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And not all players are like that.
Yeah.
So, and there's going to be those games where Kevin Durant's not having a good game, and Steph and Clay have to pick up the slack.
Yeah.
And that's just part of it.
I think that that part of me wants to say, and this is just kind of me thinking inside my own head. I was writing this stuff down. I'm like, man, can they really win without KD?
Right.
I'm kind of 50-50. Here's why I think they may not. Kawhi Leonard, he's the best two-way player, in the game right now, we could say.
Yeah. Sorry, real quick. I'm so sorry. Think about the Defensive Player of the Year award that's going around. Uh-huh. He wasn't even talked about, I feel like, for that.
Well, he sat out 20-some games. 22 games, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah, he sat out quite a bit. 22 games.
I would take him over anybody for defense. Gobert, Draymond included.
Yeah, I mean, what about Giannis?
Yeah, defensively, yes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, right. Especially now, we're seeing it.
Right.
We see it every day. I mean, and the thing about the Raptors too is real quick is they don't get the exposure that the rest of these teams get because they're in Canada for one.
Exactly.
And they're not a hot major market in the NBA, so that's part of it. But now that we're able to see it, it's like, whoa, this guy's
every
day
we get to see it. Right. My bad. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. No, but one reason why I think why they may not be able to win without KD is, Kawhi, obviously. Look, dude's averaging 31.2 points per game.
Right.
Shooting 51% from the field, that's efficient.
For sure.
39% from three, and we all know what he does on the defensive end. It's going to depend on who he guards, I think.
Yeah.
If he's guarding Curry, that's going to be tough for Steph, I think, to get around him. We'll see what he's able to do. But that also, if he takes if Curry's, if he takes him out of the equation, say he only scores maybe 18 points, maybe 20 points.
Right.
That's going to put a lot of pressure on the other players. It's going to put pressure on Clay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pressure on Clay, pressure on Draymond to score. And then you don't have that other option in KD.
Right. Where do you go from there?
Right. And I'm not even going to really mention Boogie because I don't think anybody really knows what he's going to be able to bring.
Exactly.
So that's kind of why I think, if Kawhi does guard Curry a lot, he's got the chance to, possibly tire out a little bit because Curry is relentless in moving without the ball.
Right.
So that's why, maybe the Warriors could, essentially, depending on how much Kawhi is guarding one of the Splash Brothers.
Right.
Maybe he could, maybe the Warriors could win without KD.
Right. Wear him down a little bit.
Wear him down.
Right.
And then that leaves Draymond facilitating the offense like he does.
Right.
And then Kawhi is less efficient, let's say. It's going to force the other role players on the Raptors to step up.
Right.
Which, who knows, can they do that? Warriors are a great defensive team. Not that the Bucks weren't.
Right. Yeah, no. They're really good.
But the Warriors also play in a more explosive conference.
Right.
In the West. So that's one thing to think about, too. So I think a lot of it's going to come down to if KD's out, it's going to come down to who Kawhi is defending, what kind of effect that's going to have on not only him but the rest of his teammates and everything. So,
right. And it's go ahead. Sorry.
I think KD's going to come back maybe game 2, game 3. That's just kind of my gut.
Right.
So I don't know if you want to do predictions now.
Right. Well, and you kind of the Warriors will see what happens. He won't play game 1. They'll see how they play. They'll see how things go.
Mm-hmm.
He probably could play game 1.
Yeah.
He could probably play game 1, but he won't.
I don't know, man. He hasn't even been doing anything basketball related.
Right. That's true.
So we don't really know how serious this injury is.
Right. They could be keeping another secret.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can do predictions now. Would you like to go first?
Go ahead.
Okay. I am going to go with the Warriors I'm going to go a little brave for the Raptors' sake, but I'm going to say 4-3 Warriors. And I still think, even without, say KD doesn't play, I look at it this way. Take the 2 best players on each team. Say Kevin Durant doesn't play, for example. He doesn't play at all. Kawhi and Steph. Take those players out, and now you have to rely. Who are you going to rely on after that? You have to rely on role players on the other team, on each team.
Okay.
I'm taking the Warriors role players all day long over the Raptors.
Okay. Yeah.
I feel like the Raptors might be a little deeper, but the Warriors, they're just too good.
Yeah.
They're just too good. Lowry's too inconsistent. Ibaka.
He's not the Ibaka from.
Yeah, he's kind of a hit or miss. Marc Gasol. Don't get pick and roll with him because Steph will tear him up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I don't know. If I had to rely on the bench of a team or, the role players on another team, it's going to be Golden State.
I gotcha.
I think Kawhi is going to will them into the series and make it a series.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're going to be able to win.
All right. I tend to agree. How many did you say? How many games?
I gave Raptors 3, so 7-game series.
7-game? Okay. I'm pretty
Being
close.
Generous.
Yeah, I'm pretty close. I got the Warriors in 6.
Yeah.
Kind of for, to kind of build off what you said, the Warriors role players are better.
Right.
It's going to be interesting to see is Kawhi that much better than Steph?
Exactly.
How much of effect is that going to bring the overall team up?
Right.
But I don't. As far as effect on the team, look, they're not the same kind of players. You can't really compare those two.
Right.
So, but as far as effect on the team goes, I think they're pretty even. So, like you said, take those guys out. Who you got next? I mean, you got Clay, one of the best shooters of all time.
Right.
Draymond, all-star. Maybe Boogie will contribute. You got
the guys like
Iguodala, who's been there.
Quinn Cook
is good
Livingston.
off the bench.
You got these guys that you don't think about much, but they come in and produce. They knock down shots.
McKinney.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, what's his name? Bulls traded him away. Bell.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Looney's he played great the last series.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I got Warriors in 6, and part of that also, I think KD's going to come back game 3-ish, somewhere around there, 2 or 3.
make an appearance at some point.
Yeah, and then, even if it takes him a game, okay, say the Raptors get that game, but then he's going to come out ready to go from there. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
No, the Raptors are no joke, and they're scrappy. I want the Raptors to win.
Yeah.
I would definitely want them to win. I just don't think they can,
Yeah. It was, I was kind of going back and forth earlier today, but the more we talked about it here, the more I thought about it, I'm like, man, how can you go against the 2-time defending champs for one?
Right, exactly.
Against, I know Kawhi's great.
Right.
But against the rest of that team, where have they been?
Right.
They haven't really done much.
Exactly.
So.
And, I would love to see a Kawhi versus Durant matchup.
Oh, I'd love that.
Have them go at it.
Settle who the best player is.
If I was the Raptors, I would take Fred VanVleet, who's a gritty player, kind of on a lesser Patrick Beverly style.
Yeah.
Jam up, get up in Curry, waste some you don't want to waste fouls, but make your presence known, rough them up a little bit, and you know what I mean. You can't just Lowry will not be able to keep up with Steph Curry. He will not be able.
God no.
He will not. So
nobody really can, but unless you're physical with them.
Right, exactly. So your best bet is obviously Kawhi, but then I feel and Danny Green's no slouch too on defense, but like I said, it's
yeah. And I guess I forgot about Danny Green. He's got some championship pedigree also.
Right.
But still, I think those are I think the Warriors are going to win. You think they're going to win. I think most people on our poll that we posted on our Facebook page so far think that the Warriors are going to win. I think it was but yeah,
it's
and that poll ends, I want to say Thursday, right before the game.
Right before the game, yeah.
So
it's kind of the same old story. It's getting freaking bored of those stupid Warriors.
But I think they've been more fun to watch throughout this playoff run.
Really?
Because of the last series they played in, and with the drama with the Houston Rockets series.
Right.
I thought that was entertaining. From just not necessarily just a basketball standpoint, but from everything else outside of just basketball that was going on.
Right.
The audit. Jesus,
exactly.
I will never get over that.
I know.
Houston Rockets, you are the sorriest franchise ever for coming out with your own audit.
They're
like
petty.
that. That's
very petty.
Oh my gosh,
I love it though.
I hate it.
I love it. I don't care what anybody says. They're probably not 100% accurate, but refs need to be held accountable.
Look,
anyway,
I understand that.
How exciting though has the East been without LeBron there? This is the most fun I had watching the Eastern Conference playoffs since LeBron came into the league.
I agree.
Because, it's been so, we didn't know who was going to come out. No. And I don't think anybody really picked Toronto.
No.
It was Boston, Philly, or Milwaukee.
Yeah, no. Everyone was sleeping on Toronto, and then and they were the 2 seed.
Yeah.
And people were like, oh, well, including myself, Boston will come alive.
Exactly.
Oh, but man, those Sixers, they look great.
Right. So, you didn't know who was going to come out of there. There was 4 or 5
Bucks, yeah.
Right, and it sucked that Oladipo went down because the Pacers would have been battling.
Man, the Pacers were nice.
Yeah,
they were still nice even without him.
I know. They were gritty. They were fighting.
Yeah. They remind me a little bit of the Bulls back in the day without D Rose.
Right.
That real gritty, tough team.
Right. But yeah, no, I actually enjoyed watching the Eastern Conference Final. Yeah. It was fun to watch because who was going to win each night. It was going to be different every game.
It was. No, that was fun to watch. I agree. It was. I guess you could say that the series were better, a little bit better in the East.
Yeah.
This time around.
I felt yeah. I mean, you had the 7-game Blazers and Denver series in the West, but other than that.
Yeah, and part of it for us too, it's we can watch the East more because the games are on a lot earlier.
Exactly. So. Yeah, it's hard for me to stay up and watch.
Man, watching that Blazers at 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm
hell no, no thanks.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Had to be prepared, man, for the podcast.
Exactly. I know it's harder than it seems. That's for sure.
It really is. But I guess real quick, since we're pretty much talking about all the NBA tonight. What do you think about the all NBA teams? How do you feel about that? Do you think Clay got snubbed? Do you think it was right?
I don't know. I feel like I understand why the players can get upset about that because like these players can lose out on a bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
Like who was it? Kemba?
Kemba got it over.
Wait, who was the one that got snubbed and wasn't able to get that?
Clay.
Was it Clay?
Yeah.
He wasn't able to get the big ass
Yeah.
payout.
Yeah.
Okay.
$30 million essentially.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I could definitely see why players get mad, but like, I mean, people saying Jokic didn't deserve all first NBA team.
They're
is ridiculous.
insane.
Yeah, like come on, like
They're insane.
he was so good.
Now, here's like, I've had one thought about this. It's like, so let me ask you, I guess, do you think that, do you have any problems with the teams right now? I'll kind of read them off.
Okay.
Or I don't know if you're looking at them right now, but
you can go ahead and read them off.
First team we had Jokic, Giannis, Paul George, James Harden, Steph Curry. That's the first team. So I will kind of preface this. It's like it goes by position.
Okay.
So it's 2 guards, 2 forwards, and a center.
Okay.
Second team was Joel Embiid, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, Dame Lillard, Kyrie Irving. Third team, Rudy Gobert, LeBron James, Blake Griffin, Russell Westbrook, and Kemba Walker. This is the last guard position.
And just so people know, these are regular season awards.
Regular season awards. Doesn't include the playoffs at all.
Right.
Because obviously LeBron didn't make the playoffs.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And neither did... Oh, well, nobody else on this list.
Kemba did, though, didn't he?
Oh, and Kemba, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I kind of have an issue with Kemba being on there.
Yeah.
I know he had a really good season.
Yeah.
I know, like, he had a career season, essentially. But, man, how do you keep Klay Thompson off of there? He's a two-way player, for one. Probably a top three or four two-way player in the game.
Right.
How do you're telling me that there's 15 dudes better than Klay Thompson?
I don't really know how to answer that. I mean, Klay, would you say Kemba's more of a leader than Klay Thompson?
I mean, I guess, but they never make the playoffs, really. Or
Yeah.
if they do, they're in and then out in the first round.
Right. So, like, Klay averaged almost 22 points. Okay, almost 22 points this season.
Yep.
Two and a half
25.
assists, and 3 rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
And Kemba, I mean, so it depends which way you're going to look at it.
I'm pretty sure Klay was more efficient.
Yeah, I mean, if you're asking me, I would take Klay over Kemba any day.
Yeah.
But Kemba's
based on
no
the
slouch.
Yeah. No, Kemba's a good player.
Like,
very good player.
Like, I guess, yes, I do think Klay got snubbed, but if I had to pick anybody to take it off, it would be Kemba.
Yeah.
But I also would have took Westbrook on the second team for Irving.
Yeah.
Irving on the third team.
I think I don't like Kyrie being on the second team
right?
either.
I mean,
a lot of people were up in arms about LeBron being third team. Like, oh, how is he third team over? I mean, you're really gonna put him over KD and Kawhi? I mean,
right.
I guess you look. He scored more points per game.
Right.
The only argument against LeBron for that, I think, is the fact that he missed 27 games this year.
Right.
And his team didn't make the playoffs.
As I say, and look at
So
right.
that is the one argument. Kawhi missed 22. Kawhi's a better defensive player. Toronto had the second, best record in the league.
Right.
I mean, there's a it's more than just numbers.
Right. And and I hope we don't get on a tangent here, but like, I hate looking at stats as far as points per game, rebounds per game. All that stuff is so like, I'd rather watch you play. How do you affect your team?
Right.
Do you make your team better and do you win games?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because every stat to me, regardless, like, name any stat and you can turn it, that stat's going to be affected by somebody else on the floor, no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter what. So, like, it's not solely that person, too. You know what I mean?
Because it's a team game.
Exactly. So
the only team game in which stats are really, I would say, a more of a pure indicator of how good of a player is baseball.
Right.
Because it's one-on-one all the time, you versus the pitcher.
Exactly.
It's not who's on your team, how, like, as far as especially for assists.
Right.
You know, oh, yeah, I've got a good three-point shooter on my team, kick it out to him, and it's, you know.
Exactly.
It's an easy assist.
You're depending on somebody else for something.
Yeah.
At all times.
Right.
Even with points. Like,
right.
Sure, you're going to get some one-on-one buckets sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's going to depend. How hard is the defense playing that time of game?
Mm-hmm.
You know, are you coming off a screen? Like, there's always going to be another variable that's involved with that stat regardless.
Right.
And so, I don't know.
Totally. No.
Looking at stats is just kind of like,
yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know?
They're important.
Right.
But they're not the end all be all, like, oh, well, he had more points per game, so he's better.
Exactly.
Definitely not.
Right.
You know.
That's exactly how I feel.
So.
Which is good. But yeah, no, I would say that Clay got snubbed over Kemba.
Yeah.
But other than that, though, I don't see too much wrong with that. All NBA teams.
Yeah. What I would like to see, and I hope this happens, the NBA is, in all of basketball really, is becoming a lot more of a positionless league.
Definitely.
Like, you got Draymond playing the 5 a lot of the time for the Warriors, so, and he's 6'9", 6'8", maybe.
Right.
No, I don't even think he's that tall.
I don't either.
But, so that's, I mean, you got guys playing all over the court that it's no longer small point guard, a little bit taller 2 guard, and then 6'5", 6'6" wings. Exactly. And then a center in the middle. It's no longer that. Like, guys are so skilled, they're playing all over the floor.
Right.
Like Giannis, like, he's 6'11", 7 foot.
Right. Same.
And and same with KD. Like,
right.
They are not centers.
No.
No, not at all. So
kind of sucks. You don't see a lot of those big centers anymore.
No.
You don't see.
No.
I mean, not even Shaq big, but like a Ewing, like anybody. You don't see bigs come out of the league big.
No.
They just come out tall, skinny,
long, lean.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They don't put on weight ever.
No.
They don't learn fundamentals in the post anymore.
No.
They'd rather you go out on 3 and take 100 3-point shots a day.
Yeah, and that's why the Houston Rockets lose.
Right.
Anyways, I don't care what the numbers say.
Right.
But it's a ball movement league, you know. So that's what I would like to see the NBA do. Basically, is okay. Give me the 5 best players, then give me the next 5, and then the next 5.
Right.
That way, you got the 15 top players making all NBA.
Right.
I think that's fair.
Even if 10 of them are guards, and the rest are forwards.
Sorry, Jokic would still make this list. Embiid would still make this list.
Right. Gobert wouldn't.
I don't think Gobert would. Yeah. I mean, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Because it's, like I said, the NBA is positionless. It's becoming more positionless.
Well, they might as well not even have positions for the players.
Dang near, man. I mean, everybody's almost a guard, a 2 guard, or a small forward.
Right.
I mean, there's James Harden's a shooting guard, really? He's got the ball in his hands most of the time.
Right.
He's a point guard, essentially.
Point guard.
Let's not even go there with that dude. Let's not.
But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, is it something the NBA should do and consider? Probably. Is it something they won't do because of the game itself and
because of history and
right? Exactly. Because then think about
this affects. I mean, this affects a lot. This affects like when we debate who's the greatest player of all time. Like, oh, look at he's got this All NBA team 10 times, and he's got, you know what I mean?
Well, and so basically, like, yeah. I mean, if we're sticking just to that, just for the NBA teams, like making it positionless, that would change. But like, imagine if we like made the whole NBA positionless, like that would change all of history.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I definitely don't see them doing that. But yeah, maybe for all the NBA teams.
I mean, doing that. I think I just think that it's we know who the best players are.
Right.
Like, I just don't think that there's 15 better players than Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
15 guys that you would take over Klay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to say. Like, he's never really had to create his own shot, but
yeah, yeah, exactly. That's my point. Like, put him on the Hornets. Are they going to be a better team? Maybe, maybe not.
I don't know. Yeah,
you don't know. So, that's how I like to look at things. Like,
yeah,
that's how what we talked about with Steph the other episode. Like, put Steph on the Raptors. Would he take them to the finals?
Right. Yeah, probably.
I like that better than his 26 a game with his 7 assists. I could care less about that. Is he taking that team with the same people that Harden's got all the way to, vice versa, like anybody?
Yeah.
That's what I want to, you know what I mean?
You got Steph having the ball in his hand that often? I mean, he's a more efficient player than James Harden.
For sure.
So I wouldn't make that argument because he might do just as much, if not more.
I could see him doing just as much.
In a different way.
Right.
In a different way.
Definitely. But that's how I would like. Kemba probably would. I'd do better than Klay with the Hornets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we don't know.
Right.
I think Klay got snubbed a little bit.
Yeah.
And his reaction was priceless, kind of.
Yeah.
He just was like, he was pretty nonchalant, but you could tell he was hurt.
Oh yeah.
And he knew that he was chasing after a ring, so
right, something more important than
yeah,
that.
And
he's gonna get paid. Don't worry, he'll get paid.
And he's gonna go down as maybe the second greatest shooter of all time,
exactly,
next to his teammates. So yeah, no.
So no, I agree.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be a fun finals to watch. Like we said, we got game 1 Thursday. Game 2 then is probably Saturday.
Saturday, I believe. Yep.
Yeah. So maybe we might, by the time we meet next time, we'll have 2 games for sure. 3
potential.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Hopefully we can get another episode in next week for you guys.
Yeah.
We're gonna do our best.
Mid finals update.
Yep.
Go over that, and see what happens.
Yeah.
But thanks again for listening, everybody. Another episode down, episode 11. We appreciate all the love you guys are giving us. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode, and we'll talk to you next time. I'm gonna give it to Cam to send you off.
All right. If you guys enjoyed this episode, be sure you like, subscribe, and share. We've got our Facebook page up and running. Doing a lot of interaction there with you guys. And then you can subscribe to the podcast at Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and YouTube. All right. Check you guys next week.